Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you decided to click on this video. So today is another edition, or the beginning of another edition, of my 5-star reread challenge, where I go back through my bookshelves and find a book that I previously rated 5 stars that I consider to be an all-time favorite and reread it and make sure that it is still a 5-star read for me. Now, the criteria for this are that it's a book that I've never done a reread of before and that I read for the first time over a year ago. So far this year we've done City of Girls and Black Buck. I will link those down below. But for the month of March, I decided with y'all's help to go with Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Sorry, this is a really shiny cover, so it's not really doing much for the visuals here, but that is the HBO adaptation cover, so that's the one I own, but I am listening to the audiobook that I got from the library, so I'll probably be doing it like hybrid style, so we'll see about that. So I initially read this book back in the end of 2021, so over 2 years ago, and I absolutely loved it. It's a book that I had seen all over for a while, and I kind of thought it was going to be a little too sci-fi and a little bit too like weird for me. But I did end up getting this book sent to me by the publisher, and so I was like, okay, so now I've just got no reason not to read it because I own it. So that is what I did, and I absolutely adored it, and I just find I'm just going to read to you what I wrote. Now, a quick little summary before I actually read my review. I will give you this is what I wrote about it the first time. Station 11 recently got an HBO Max adaptation, and I knew I wanted to read the book before checking it out. This is a pandemic story opening with a famous actor dying on stage during a production of King Lear as the world begins to fall apart. 20 years later, society has collapsed with 99% of the population dead, but people are still finding small joys in life. A group of actors and musicians have formed the Traveling Symphony, moving from city to city performing Shakespeare. When they arrive to a settlement in Michigan, they find it's been taken over by a self-proclaimed prophet and his followers, and one of the actors finds she may have a connection to the so-called prophet. So this is what I said about the book itself. I'm late to the game on this one, but wow. This powerful and brilliant piece of literature is a must-read. Despite being centered around a pandemic, I found this to be way more a study of human connection than anything else. With multiple timelines, I really enjoyed seeing how the pandemic unfolded and how quickly society collapsed right alongside how things became 20 years afterwards. This book is a perfect blend of dystopian and literary fiction with such an emphasis on the arts and their importance. Easily one of my new all-time favorites. Make sure to read this masterpiece before you check out the show. Easy to see, this is a book that really resonated with me. I absolutely loved it, and I am so looking forward to reading it a second time. Emily St. John Mandel, while I've only read this and one other book by her, I don't know why that I've only read those two, because her writing is just so captivating and so gorgeous, and her stories are kind of weird, kind of sci-fi, and very literary as well, but just so easy to get sucked into. So I am very excited to read this. I do have a trip starting tomorrow. Tomorrow night I will be in San Diego, and then I'll just be coming back on the day following. So should be pretty easy. Hopefully I'll get some time to read, and we will take it from there. Like I said, I'm going to be listening to the audiobook and then also reading my physical copy, so I will check back in after I have gotten some of this book read. So I am now here in San Diego. I wanted to try to film maybe some B-roll or something on the plane or on the way here, but there was just no time. It was a busy flight, but everybody was super nice, which is always just delightful. Makes the day go faster and just makes the whole thing much easier when everyone's being nice. So we love that. So, like I said, I'm here in San Diego. I have spent a little bit of time reading Station 11. I haven't read too much, but I will say that I am very much enjoying it so far. So the book opens with a production of King Lear in Toronto, and the starring character dies on stage. And a man named Jeevan tries to revive him. He's studying to be a paramedic, but he can't be revived. It's too late. A young girl who plays a character in King Lear, I'm honestly not that familiar with it, so can't say who exactly, but she's 8 years old, I think, 7 or 8, and her name's Kirsten, and Jeevan goes and like makes sure she's okay. And it's the beginning of a pandemic. And I have some thoughts, because I feel like when I read this the first time, we were almost still in the thick of it. I mean, it was December 2021. So, I mean, we had definitely made some strides. Most people were vaccinated, and I think a lot of stuff was open again, but I think we were all still pretty wary. I think that was when there was like the Omicron. And so I don't remember the pandemic stuff like really hitting me so hard. I feel like we were just too far into it still, that it didn't really affect me. But reading it this time, it really did. I mean, just the way that the characters were talking to each other, as in like, what's going on? Like, how are we going to deal with this? Like, is it really serious? I'm healthy though. Is it really going to be a big thing to me? And I don't know, it just felt so like we lived this, and that's kind of incredible. We lived through a pandemic, and that's just unreal. Especially just reading it, and I mean, we can be glad it didn't end this way with like 90-something% of the world's population wiped out, but it's still really scary and kind of wild to think about the fact that we lived through that. And yeah, it just hit me different this time for sure. So I'm really enjoying it so far. If I was grading it right now, I would still say it's 5 stars, but still got a long ways to go, but it's really good. I'm definitely enjoying my time reading this again, and I'm looking forward to picking it back up. Tomorrow I just have one leg home to Philly, and I am very much looking forward to a few days off after that. I have 3 days off, and I'm going home to see my parents in Sarasota, and we are actually going to see a spring training game. So the Baltimore Orioles do spring training in Sarasota, and on Wednesday, the Phillies are going to be playing them, and so we're going to the game, and I'm really excited. I did go to one other spring training game out in Arizona this year, and yeah, I'm so excited. I cannot wait for baseball to be back. We have like a week and a half left till opening day, so I am just super looking forward to that, and of course I will take you along with me if I remember. But yeah, so I am gonna go get ready for bed, because it is only 8 o'clock here, but it is midnight to my body, so time to go get some rest, and hopefully it's a quick and easy flight home tomorrow, and I will check back in once I'm home and have read a little bit more of Station 11.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun.
2 days later.
Okay, so it's a few days later now. It's funny because I complain that nobody likes my vlogs, and then I make the worst vlogs and somehow can't find the reason as to why people don't like them. Funny stuff that. So it's a couple days later. I am down in Sarasota visiting my folks, and I have been reading a decent amount of Station 11, still loving it. So I can't actually remember exactly where I was last time I checked in, because I think I might have only done the one check-in after like the initial whatever. But So I will say that I, again, forgot a lot about what the story was. I knew, the traveling symphony, and that the man Arthur was had a heart attack and died on stage during the production of King Lear, and that was kind of like the beginning of the pandemic in the book. And it's so interesting to hear them talk about the pandemic, because in addition to it feeling so much like scarier almost than it did the first time I read this, it's weird when they're like the moment that you knew that the world was going to change, and this was like the end of the before. And I mean, I have such a visceral memory of our before. When I knew it ended, I was at trivia at my local bar, and we were watching, they had basketball games on, and all of the players just ran off the court, and everyone was like, what's happening? Because I guess they had gotten news that someone on the team they had previously played tested positive, so they all just like ran off the court. And of course everyone at this bar is like, wait, what's going on? And we did win trivia, which was good, but it was missing something, because we were like, the world's ending. But we were the reigning trivia champions for like a year and a half, so that's fun. Anyways, not important. This is just, it really is so good the second time. We're kind of getting the backstory on Arthur, and it seems kind of at first like you don't really know why you need this information, but it does come back around to how this connects to the like present day, which is 20 years after the pandemic. And there is this scary prophet that is just a cult leader, basically. And so the traveling symphony wants to get away, but then our main character, Kirsten, gets separated from the group along with another guy in the symphony. And so they're trying to find their way back to the symphony, while also trying to make sure that they don't run into this cult and the prophet again. And that's interspersed with flashbacks of like Arthur's life. Once I got to like a certain point, I was like, oh yeah, I remember what happened. But I definitely went into this not remembering much past there was a pandemic. So I'm loving this again. So hopefully I will finish it tomorrow. So we're flying back home tomorrow. Sadly, this was a quick visit. Tonight we are going to see the Phillies. Opening day's next week, which is just my favorite time of the year. I love baseball so much, so I'm really, really excited about going to the game and then the season starting. So tomorrow we're flying back home, and hopefully on the flight I will be able to finish this, and then once I get home I can report back on my final thoughts. I would say I will try to be a better vlogger in the next 24 hours, but that's probably not true. Back home in Philly now, and I did finish Station 11 yesterday. I actually ended up listening to the entire audiobook. I just picked this up from my shelf for me to show you. I don't know. So I will say overall, I would still rate this a 5, like on Goodreads. I feel like if I was like being a little more specific, I would rate it maybe a 4.5. I still really loved it, but I feel like maybe my preferences have changed regarding like the ending, where I would have preferred a little less ambiguity. I would have preferred a little bit more like clarity on how exactly things wrapped up, because it does kind of end suddenly and with not a ton of closure, which I don't know, was just something that I would have preferred. But still a really great book, still a book I highly recommend. And it's so funny because yesterday I was in the airport flying back to Philly, and I was carrying like my book of the month tote bag. I just always use that when I travel. And someone guy was waiting in the same area, and he asked me, so what's book of the month? Like, what are you reading? And I was like, first I didn't really know what he was asking me, but then I sorted it out. And so we started talking about books and stuff we've read, and he had mentioned that he recently had read The Glass Hotel, had I heard of it, and that's another book by Emily St. John Mandel, and I was like, no, I haven't heard of, I mean, I've heard of it, I haven't read it, but I just finished reading Station 11 for the second time, so it's funny you mention that. And she was like, oh my gosh, you have to read it, it's so, so, so good. And I said, oh, I'm sure that I would like it because I love this, and I loved Sea of Tranquility, which is another one of her books, so I definitely am motivated to read that one a little more now. And also, it's just fun to, like, talk to a random person in the airport about books who seemed to have a lot of, like, really similar opinions when we talked about stuff. So that was really cool, and it was just kind of funny that I had, like, literally just finished reading this, and he had brought up another book by her. But so I'm home now. I am home for a few days, so I'm gonna try to read through some of my hardcover books that I don't like to carry with me when I travel. But I don't know how great this vlog has been yet again, but I still appreciate you watching it, and I'm glad that you are here supporting my channel. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, I would love it if you would be, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!